wait. Yes, I have to. Let me also report it so that. Okay, so I thought that the measurement, what I could do is I could use it as a vocabulary, and since most of the structure is quite the same, so I thought we should now focus more towards the uh, things that actually brings variation to the sentence or our statement, whichever statement that we are making. So more variation to those type of statements. So today we're going to discuss the tenses, and I thought we're going to be able to finish the entire thing, including the case with the imperative, but I think we'll be able to finish till the future tense. And so we won't be talking in detail about the tenses. The actual detail about the tenses that we're going to go on in other lessons. In other texts, that is of the gender sign. So in the gender sign, we will talk more in depth about these different type of tenses and the action word. But here we're simply going to state the normal usage, that is the structure. So we're not going to talk about how the spellings of each of these different tenses formulate. This we're going to do in the gender sign. So first, the present tense. In the present tense, the statement in present tense use specific rules. So there are specific rules for each of these different tenses, and each of these tenses have different rules, and the statement that deals with the tenses have three main components. These are subject, the object, and the action word. So these are either subject or object or action words. So there are some cases in which we may find that the object may be inferred from another. So object may be inferred from another sentence or statement. So in those cases, the object won't be apparent. But it is the most important that a statement should consist of subject, object, and action word, which deals with the tenses. So we know that the subject is the doer, the one that does the work. The object is the place or where the action is being done, and the action word is showing the action. So it shows the action. So the subject, the object, and the action. So the thing that is going to be changing will only be the action word and not the subject and the object. The subject and the object, they're pronoun or noun. So therefore, these doesn't change in accordance to which usage. This do not change in accordance to which tense we're talking about. But the action word may have variation in spellings, so there is difference in spellings for different tenses. So if it's a present tense, it will have a different spelling. If it is a past tense, it will have a different spelling. So therefore, we will see that the action word will change with different tenses. But like I said in the beginning, we're not going to deal with action words per se in the case where we talk about the spellings of the action words. So we're not going to discuss how each of these different tenses, including the imperative case, has this kind of sentence, why the sentence is changing, or what are the rules pertaining the change of the sentences. This is an example. As you can see, in the present tense, we have 且记约. So this is the spelling in the present tense. 且 and then in past, it is 且yin. In the future tense, it's 且gyuyin yin. And then there are two types of imperatives in Tibetan. One is the imperative command, other is imperative request. So for imperative command, it's chö shik. But it should be understood that the spelling for both of the imperatives are the same. So it's the same spelling for the both. So chö shik for command, chö ro, chö par re, and chö tang are the imperative request, in which most of these cases are always, advice if it is ending with tang, xue tang, xie tang. So these are advice. So, but in some cases, these are also used as, in cases, for example, people may say ta lap tang, which means. But in that case, we must understand that this is more like using an incomplete word or incomplete phrase or statement to bring out the statement from the other person, usually not preferred in the written language, but in the spoken language. Shuro, shobar re, and shotang, which means to do. So choshik means commanding someone to do something. Choro, chobar re, and chotang. Chotang, advising someone to do something. Choro and chobar re is, it's in a form where we see that chobar re means that, and to ask someone to do something, to ask someone to do something. Then zhong, which means to learn. Zhong qi yue. Zhang yin, which is the past. Zheng gyu yin, which is the future. Zhong shik, imperative. Zhong ro, zhong war re, and zhong. Zhong ro means requesting someone to study. Jongwar re is also requesting, and jong which is saying please study. Which is advising someone to study. So we see that the spelling changes, and these two imperatives have the same spelling, but the difference is how it ends. If it ends with one of these particles, it becomes imperative command. If it ends with these companion words, it becomes imperative request. Perna, for example, Tata lega cheki yu. Right now, I'm working. Kongi lega chegyure. He will be working. Gelbu chöshi kanna. The king commanded to do. Lega di shuro ang. Please do this work. So these are the cases. And now the present tense. The present, so there are three types of present tense that we're going to study. The first one is the present simple tense. So the present simple tense has three main components: the subject, the object, and the action word in present tense. So for any sentence to be a present simple tense, we understand that it needs three components, which are the object, the subject, and the action word. Object could be inferential in some cases, so not apparently written in the statement. For first person, the companion word. So when we are stating a present action for the first person, we use the word yu at the end. We use the word yu. For example, nga lobta la troi yu. Nga tata lega cheki yu. So we see that for the first person, we're using yu when we are stating the present simple tense. Nga lobta ru or nga lobta la troi yu. Nga tata lega cheki yu. I'm doing an action. And then we see that when we're using it with the second and the third, second and third person, the companion word becomes tuk. For example, ko tata kala sahi tuk. Kongzo tata pui jongki tuk. So this is present simple. So we see that the difference is the companion word. If it is yu, it is the first person. If it's tuk, then it becomes the second and the third person. So cheki yu, ni cheki yu, ku cheki tuk, kong tsu cheki tuk. And the verb here, sa, is the present tense, jong is the present tense. So present tense verb. So in cases of the present simple tense, we see that the structure, there are only two things which are changing, which is the action word itself and then the companion word that comes after the action word, the word of confirmation. In case of self, it's in case of the first person, that is the self, it is yu as a confirmation. But in case of second person and third person, it is tuk. So the second case in the present tense is present continuous tense. So present continuous tense consists of present tense action word and the companion word shin. So nga tata tep lo shin yu. Kongzo nga tata tep lo shin yu. Yu for the first person. Kongzo kala session tu for second and third person. So the rule of yu and tuk persist for all different variation. So yu for self, tuk for second and third person. Nga tata tep lo shin yu. Kongzo kala session tu. So the companion word shin is the companion word that makes it into a continuous tense. Nga tata tep lok shin yu. Lok is the present tense. Shin makes it into a continuous form. And sa is the present tense. Shin makes it a continuous form. Now the third variation, that is the present perfect tense. The same rule for the as for the verb, when we're talking about the verb, we understand that these are all present tense. The variation though comes from the companion word, which makes it either present simple, present continuous, and present perfect. So, for example, Nyintar nga lobtra la drawing yu. Kongso tatu leka chekin tuk. So, Nyintar nga lobtra la drawing yu. So we see that when we're using it with the first person, we're using the companion word yu. But with that, the companion word here we see is yin. So what does it do is that it makes it pervasive through the entire period of the time that is considered to be in the context of talking, in the context. So nyintar nga lobtra la roin yu. Every day I'm going to school. Then we have the second case where we have the second and the third person companion word with tuk. The yin and kin, yin, kin are all the same for both cases. Ko sa mingmar tao tu chola roin tuk. He goes to the sea every Tuesday. Kongso tengsa pui jongkin tuk. They are studying Tibetan these days. So we see that when it's the past, when it's the second and the third person, we understand that we use tuk. So there is no difference between the first person, second person, and third person, other than of the companion word. And we see that the variation of the present tense, that is from the present simple, present continuous, and present perfect tense, all of these depend on the companion word. So if the companion word is ye, for example, cheki ye, then it becomes the present simple for the first person. Cheki tuk, present tense for the second and third person. Cheshin ye, continuous, present continuous for the first person. Cheshin tuk, present continuous for the second and third person. Chekin ye, present perfect tense for the first person. Chekin tuk, present perfect tense for second and third person. So we see the variation. There is no variation in the spelling of the verb here. No variation in the spelling of the action word. Only in the variation of the companion word that comes after the action word. Whereas when we talk about different tenses, we see the variation in the verb also, or in the action word also. So therefore, we see that there are these two variations. One, the companion word, only for the variation of the same tenses, but different cases. And the action word, which is for the variation of the different tenses. So for present tense, different spelling. For past tense, different spelling. For future tense, different spelling. And then two types of imperatives, imperative command and imperative request, which have different spelling, both of which have the same spelling. But now the difference between the imperative command and the imperative command and the imperative request becomes the companion word. So it's only in the context of the imperative case that we see that there is a variation with the companion word. Other than that, all of the tenses, the present, past, future imperatives, all of these, they have the variation in spelling. Okay, so now past tense. So past simple tense has three main components: the subject, the object, and action word in past tense. So it means that it has a different spelling now. And the rules are the same as it was in the present tense, present simple tense, when it comes to the companion word. The only difference is the spelling of the action word here. That is, if you were saying chekiye, it will be, and it will be cheyin. So we have the variation in the companion word and the action word. So the past simple, for the past simple, we have the companion word hin. For the first person, nga loptar chinhin. Nga loptar chinhin. Or if you want to add something, you can say chin sarhin. So chin sinin. These are also additional companion word. Or you can just say chin. Nga loptar chinhin. Nge leka tsangma chain. So we see that the variation is in the spelling. In some cases, we see that the spelling are changing just slightly. In some cases, they're not changing at all. But in some cases, we see that the entire word changes. For example, if it was in case of the cha, it became from che, 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 cha. But in case of dro, it becomes dro, chin. So there is a change from dro to chin. So there is a change from do to chin. In this case, we see that for che, it is che, che. Though we see that there is a slight difference, but it's not as different as it is in the case of the past simple of to go, draw. So draw, chin, and draw. And then the imperative would be song. So we see that in case of the past simple tense, we have the verb. Nga lobtar chin. I went to school. Nge leka tsangma chain. I did a clean work. Now, the case with the second and the third person is the companion song. So, que kala chazang se song. We cannot say que kala tsangma sein. Que kala tsangma se song. Kong tsu pui gyu zhu yakbu dang song. They gave a good Tibetan exam. Kong tsu pui gyu zhu yakbu dang song. So we see that it changes. So the companion word was hin for the first person, but for the second and the third person, we see that it is song. Que kala chazang se song. Kong tsu pui gyu zhu yakbu dang song. So there is no difference in the verb or the action word, but the variation in the companion word from hin to song. Now, past continuous tense. So the past continuous tense will have the past tense action word and the companion word shin. So for the first person, it's yö, the companion is yö. For the second and third person, it's tuk. So, and we must also understand that for the past, so for example, in this case, we see that we're using the past tense form of verb, but the companion words are as it was, and it becomes continuous with the usage of this companion word shin. Kasa tep lo shin yö. Kongso tengö sapurpur. Pui jangshin tuk. So kasa tep lo shin yö. Kongso tengö sapurpur. Pui jangshin tuk. They were studying Tibetan Kasa tep lo xin yue. So we see that the only thing that changes is it is the verb, the action word, but the companion word doesn't change. So xin yue for first person, xin tuk for third and the second person. Now we see that there is no so there is no variation that is of the past perfect tense. So we go to the future simple tense. So the future simple tense has three main components: the object, the action, word in future tense, and the subject. And the companion word would be yu yin. Nga lobtar ro yu yin. I will be going to school. Nge leka tsangma cha yu yin. I will do a clean job. I will go to school with yu yin. So we see that in the case of simple tense, it's yu for the present, but hin for both the past and the future. For the past is yin, or you can also add an extra sin, like you sin a sin. Che sin means I have completed or I have done it. So instead of lobtar chin sins or chin tsarhins or chin hins. Nge laka tsangma che sinins or che yin or che tsarin. You can add these things like sin or tsar, which by themselves are also word. Unlike most of the companion word, these are also word. So the actual companion word would be yin in both of these cases. So yin for past and future, yue for present simple. Nga lopta droyi yue. Nga lopta chin yin. Nga lopta drogyu yin. Nga lopta droyi yue. I go to school. Nga lopta dro yin. Or sorry, nga lopta chin. I went to school. Nga lopta drogyu yin. I will be going to school. So we see the variation here. There is a great variation in the companion word. So the companion word, so the thing that determines which tense it is has to do with both the verb as well as the companion word. Nge lega tsangma chegyu yin. So okay, so let me add this. Seems that I have forgotten this. So for second and third person, the companion word leka tetso ku. chegyu re. Or if you want to add this, chegyu re to. Console, sungin, rugi, to, rugyu, re. So we see that if it's the second and the third person, the companion word is gyu re. Whereas if it's the first person, it's gyu yin. Che gyu yin, che gyu re. The continuous tense, so the present continuous tense, so it has the future tense action word and the companion word shin. Sanyin tatse nga loptar roshin yure. Tomorrow this time I will be going to school. Lo chimar kongso lopsen shenshi jangshin yure. Next year they will be studying another subject or another lesson. Sanyi, so we see that in both of these cases, we use shin yure and shin yure, and that's the companion word. So shin yure. Sanyi tatse nga cho, sanyi tatse nga lopchar roshin yure. Lo chimar kong cho lopsen shenshi jangshin yure. They will be studying a different subject. So these are the different variation. So I wanted to introduce these because I feel that with this you will have all of you will have a new dynamic to your sentence. You'll have a new variation to your sentence, not only stating just the present tense, but also stating the future and the past tense. So this is what I feel that it will be beneficial. So therefore, I introduced this today. Though in the beginning, I thought that we will be covering this in the grammar class, but I thought that if it was just about the companion word, and if it needn't the explanation for the spellings of the different tenses, then we could introduce it in the conversation class. So therefore, I did introduce it. And so therefore, we see that different tenses. So the first factor that determines each sentence to be of each tense is the verb. If the verb is present, then it's present tense. If the verb is past, it's the past tense, the spelling. If the verb is of the future tense, then the spelling will be of the future tense. And if the verb is of the imperative tense, then it will have imperative, it's spelling of the imperative tense. But the thing that differentiates either it being for the first person or for the second and the third person would be the companion word, as well as the thing that determines which variation of the tense it is the companion word. So therefore, we see that different companion word tells us more about the type of sentence in which variation we're using it. So so the imperative form we will discuss next time in the next class. And now that we're coming almost, so we have probably one more month of the basic conversation class. So we will focus. So 1 month is probably 8 to 9 classes more. We have 8 to 9 classes more, I guess. If that's the case, then we will focus mainly on now trying to understand different dynamics of the sentence, and all of the vocabulary. I'll try to give you new words. And the thing is that, like we already discussed during the beginning of the course, we said that vocabulary will be highly dependent on your own ability to learn those words, meaning your effort in learning these new words. If you learn more new words, your vocabulary will be better. So most of the situations that we see, for example, in the like ordering food and everything, they're all hindered not because of the sentence itself, but because of the vocabulary in most cases. Whereas these dynamics, as you see, like the usage of the particles, the usage of different things in different tenses, these have to do with the more technical aspect of the sentence rather than the vocabulary itself. So therefore, for the next 1 month, we will focus on these dynamics so that we can explore different types of sentences. So today we explored the different tense. Then next class we'll talk about imperative, and then in imperative we'll talk about command and request, advice, guidance. So these type of different imperatives we're going to talk. And then we will talk about other dynamics of question to be of of sentence or statement to be of the question. So on the basis of the companion word, we'll talk about the confirmed sentence, the sentence with doubts. So when I say sentence, please understand that these are going to be your statement, your narration in Tibetan language. When you speak Tibetan, this is going to be your Tibetan language. The reason why I'm saying sentence is because I'm writing it down here. But if you speak it, these are your, this is the way you speak Tibetan. So therefore, for the 1 month, probably, yes, for the exactly 1 month now, because this time next month, it will be the time to prepare for the teaching in Bodh Gaya. So therefore, we see that we have only 1 month left now for the basic conversation class, and I will focus mainly on the dynamics. So please understand that the syllable that we are going to follow will differ a little bit from some of the other syllable. And then I will try to incorporate the homonyms. I'll try to incorporate the homonyms in this course, that is of the course that is of the basic conversation class. But if we couldn't do it, then it will be the first for the lower intermediate conversation class. Okay, so this is it for today's lesson. So does anyone have, so first we'll have the memorization, I think, and then we'll have the questions. So, okay, so can we define present perfect as an habit? And yes, that's still happening. A habit that's still happening. Sar simpa. Yes, for past, thấy thêm cái for past. Yes, so these two you can use for past, sinba and sarva. But these sar means to finish and sin means to reach or to finish. So both of them have a particular meaning. So this is what I was saying, that it's not like the normal companion. So it's correct. So now the memorization time. So those who are able to read, please choose number between, so please choose a number between 1 to 10, and then we'll proceed accordingly. So this will be the it will be the Tibetan from that point. So those who are able to recite. Okay, so we have 3. Let me generate a number. 1. So 1, 2, 3. Number 1. Okay, so it's number 1. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name terribly wrong. So I'll just use the first part of the first name, Ekala. So it's you who has to read. Questions if anyone have questions regarding today's lesson, and the assignments will be provided by tomorrow. So does anyone have questions regarding today's lesson?
Genla, I have one first question.
Yes.
It's about present simple, and for the second and third person.
For the second and third person?
So my question is, yes. So the question is, I learned before, like we have 2 options. First is the companion word do, and second option is companion word yore.
Yore, yes.
And what I learned is like yore is like more coming from knowledge, and do is coming for own experience.
Okay.
Like for example, Pela, like with
yes, Petunia La.
Hello? Yes, I'm sorry,
yes.
I lost connection.
Yes. So Yure and Tuk, right? So both of these are confirming word. So both of these are confirming particles, right? Yure and Tuk. So you're not able to hear me. Are you able to hear me? Let's so I think Petunia's place has some reception problem with the internet. So does anyone else have a question in meanwhile? I'll answer one question. Does anyone have a question?
Now I have connection. I'm online.
Lasso. So the question? So so let me try to explain the two usage in the meanwhile. So the usages of the yöre and tuk. Yöre and tuk is more like when we say tuk, it has to do with affirming something, just simply affirming something. And yöre means it's quite the same. Sange la shirab tuk or sange la shirab yöre. So both of these are quite, in my perspective, both of these are quite the same. Difference being the usage of tuk and re, which actually doesn't change much because both of these are used with the past tense, as we know that these are associated with the second and third person. These are associated with the past and the future tense, whereas self is associated with present tense. So I think that would be my explanation, that both of them have the similar usage case. But of the case of saying one comes from experience and other comes from the knowledge, definitely this can be argued, and I'll try and give examples in the group for those cases, so that further discussion could happen in the group. Okay, so I think this is it for today, and then Petunia can continue the question in the group. So this is it for today, and I will see every one of you on Monday. Is it? Yes, for the grammar class. That's so.